From 13 rebellious colonies to global superpower in less than 250 years, this is the lightning-fast rise of the United States of America, a nation born from revolution, built on contradiction, and shaped by constant change. In just 10 minutes, we'll trace America's journey from indigenous lands to world dominance, covering the triumphs, tragedies, and transformations that created the country we know today. Long before European ships appeared on the horizon, North America thrived with diverse civilizations. From the cliff dwellings of the ancestral Pueblones to the massive earthworks of Cahokia near present-day St. Louis, indigenous peoples had built sophisticated societies for thousands of years. The Iroquois Confederacy governed through democratic councils that would later inspire American founding fathers. Estimates suggest 10 to 15 million people lived across the continent, speaking hundreds of languages and managing complex trade networks from coast to coast. In 1607, Jamestown became England's first permanent settlement, driven by tobacco profits and indentured labor. The Pilgrims followed in 1620, seeking religious freedom. By 1733, 13 distinct colonies stretched along the Atlantic coast. Virginia grew rich on tobacco worked by enslaved Africans. New England built its economy on shipping and manufacturing. Pennsylvania welcomed diverse immigrants seeking opportunity. Each colony developed its own character, but all remained British subjects for now. Britain's victory in the French and Indian War in 1763 came with massive debt. Parliament decided the colonies should pay through new taxes, the Sugar Act, Stamp Act, and Tea Act. Colonists erupted with protests, no taxation without representation. The Boston Massacre in 1770 and Boston Tea Party in 1773 pushed tensions to the breaking point. When Britain responded with the intolerable acts, colonial leaders knew reconciliation was impossible. The shot heard round the world rang out at Lexington and Concord in April 1775. George Washington took command of the Continental Army while the Second Continental Congress debated independence. On July 4, 1776, they declared it, proclaiming that all men are created equal, though this equality had clear limits. The war raged for 8 brutal years. Valley Forge tested American resolve. French alliance provided crucial support. British surrender at Yorktown in 1781 secured American independence, creating the world's first modern republic. The Articles of Confederation proved too weak to govern effectively. In 1787, delegates gathered in Philadelphia ostensibly to revise them, but instead created an entirely new constitution. This document brilliantly balanced power between federal and state governments, large and small states, and 3 branches of government. George Washington's presidency established precedents that endure today. The Bill of Rights protected individual freedoms. Political parties emerged despite warnings against them. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the nation's size overnight. Manifest Destiny became America's rallying cry, the belief that expansion across the continent was both inevitable and divinely ordained. Pioneers pushed west via wagon trains. The California Gold Rush of 1849 drew hundreds of thousands seeking fortune. Texas joined the Union after independence from Mexico. The Mexican-American War added vast territories from Texas to California. But expansion came at tremendous cost to Native Americans, who faced removal, broken treaties, and cultural destruction. The Indian Removal Act of 1834 forced thousands on the deadly trail of tears. By 1860, America was splitting apart over slavery. Abraham Lincoln's election triggered Southern secession. 11 states formed the Confederacy, claiming states' rights while defending slavery. When Confederate forces fired on Fort Sumter in April 1861, civil war began. For devastating years, Americans killed Americans. The Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 transformed the conflict into a war for freedom. Union industrial might eventually prevailed, Lincoln's assassination in April 1865 robbed the nation of its greatest leader just as the war ended. Over 600,000 Americans died, more than all other American wars combined. Reconstruction promised to remake the South and guarantee rights for freed slaves. The 14th and 15th Amendments granted citizenship and voting rights to African Americans. But after federal troops withdrew in 1877, Jim Crow laws reimposed white supremacy through segregation and terror. Meanwhile, America industrialized at breakneck speed. Railroads connected the continent. Steel mills and factories transformed cities. Millions of immigrants arrived seeking the American dream. Robber barons amassed unprecedented wealth while workers organized unions to fight exploitation. By 1900, America had become an industrial giant. World War I dragged America onto the global stage. Though initially neutral, German submarine attacks and the Zimmermann telegram pushed America into war in 1917. American forces helped tip the balance, but isolationism returned afterward. The 1929 stock market crash triggered the Great Depression. Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal programs provided relief and reformed capitalism. Pearl Harbor's surprise attack on December 7, 1941, shattered American isolationism forever. World War II mobilized the entire nation. American industry became the arsenal of democracy. Victory in 1945 left America as the world's dominant superpower, holding atomic weapons and unmatched economic strength. The wartime alliance with the Soviet Union quickly collapsed into Cold War confrontation. The Marshall Plan rebuilt Europe while NATO provided collective security. The Korean War tested containment doctrine. McCarthyism created domestic paranoia about communist infiltration. The space race began when Sputnik shocked Americans in 1957. The Cuban Missile Crisis in 1960 brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. Vietnam became America's longest war, ultimately ending in failure and deep national division. D-10 temporarily eased tensions, but the Cold War continued until the Soviet Union's collapse in 1991. The promise of equality remained unfulfilled for millions of Americans. The civil rights movement challenged segregation through nonviolent resistance. Rosa Parks sparked the Montgomery bus boycott. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech inspired a nation. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and Voting Rights Act of 1965 dismantled legal segregation. But progress came through struggle. Birmingham's fire hoses, Selma's bloody bridge, and King's assassination in 1968. The movement expanded to include women's rights, LGBTQ+ rights, and immigrant rights. Each generation continued the work of creating a more perfect union. September 11, 2001, changed America forever. Terrorist attacks killed nearly 3,000 people and launched the war on terror. America invaded Afghanistan and Iraq, beginning decades of military involvement in the Middle East. The 2008 financial crisis triggered the worst recession since the Great Depression. Barack Obama became the first African American president. Donald Trump's presidency deepened political divisions. The COVID-19 pandemic killed over 1 million Americans and transformed society. Today, America faces challenges from climate change, political polarization, and global competition while remaining the world's largest economy and most powerful military force. From 13 colonies to 50 states, from 3 million people to over 330 million. From Atlantic settlements to Pacific power, America's story is one of constant transformation. Built on indigenous lands through immigrant dreams and enslaved labor, shaped by revolution and civil war, tested by depression and world wars, the United States remains an ongoing experiment in democracy. The American story continues to unfold, written by each generation's struggle to fulfill the founding promise that all people are created equal. In just 247 years, America became the world's oldest continuous democracy, and its most powerful nation, a testament to both human ambition and the enduring power of democratic ideals.